Welcome to this channel. Australia's history is both vast and complex, spanning thousands of years of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, followed by centuries of colonization, conflict, and change. It's a history full of challenges, triumphs, and important lessons. In this video, we are giving you a crash course on Australia's history from its earliest inhabitants to the present day. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and get ready to learn about the incredible story of Australia. The Dutch were the first Europeans to make it to Australia, and they established a number of settlements, including the first European settlement in Australia at Shark Bay. However, their presence was relatively small scale, and they didn't have much impact on the overall course of Australian history. Instead, it was the arrival of the British that would have the most significant impact. The British began exploring and colonizing Australia in the late 18th century, and they brought with them a new set of challenges and opportunities for the Aboriginal people. This was a significant step in the colony's journey towards independence. Federation brought together the different colonies and created a sense of national identity. It also allowed for greater self-determination and autonomy. The first decade of the 20th century saw Australia playing an active role in international affairs. In 1914, Australia declared war on Germany during World War I, sending troops to fight in the Middle East and Europe. This was a significant moment for the young nation, as it showed its commitment to the British Empire and its willingness to defend its interests overseas. Following World War I, Australia experienced a period of economic growth and prosperity. The discovery of gold and other minerals led to the development of new industries and the creation of jobs. This, combined with the introduction of new technologies, led to a significant improvement in living standards for many Australians. However, this prosperity was not shared equally, and there was still a significant gap between the wealthy elite and the working class. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, Australia was hit hard. The collapse of the global economy led to high levels of unemployment and poverty. The government responded with a combination of austerity measures and public works programs, but these were not enough to prevent widespread hardship. World War II had a profound impact on Australia. The war effort required the mobilization of the entire nation, and women played a significant role in the workforce, while men went off to fight. Australia was also the site of some of the most significant battles of the war, such as the Kokoda Track campaign in Papua New Guinea. Before we talk about the British Empire owning most of Australia, let's go back even further to before they arrived. Let's talk about the first Australians, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. This was driven by a number of factors, including the growth of the service sector, the development of new technologies, and the expansion of the welfare state. In the 1960s and 70s, Australia experienced a period of social and political change. The civil rights movement in the United States had an impact on Australia and led to greater awareness of social issues such as racial discrimination. In 1967, the Australian government passed a referendum that abolished the White Australia policy, which had restricted immigration to people of European descent. This was a significant step towards creating a more inclusive and diverse society. In the late 20th century, Australia faced a number of challenges, including economic recessions, droughts, and the Asian financial crisis. However, the country was able to navigate these challenges and emerged as a strong and stable economy in the 21st century. Today, Australia is a highly developed country with a strong economy and a high standard of living. It is also a multicultural society that values diversity and inclusion. The country has faced its share of challenges in recent times, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing threat of climate change. However, Australia remains a resilient and adaptable nation, and is well positioned to face the challenges of the future. In 1788, the British government established a penal colony at Sydney Cove, which is now part of Sydney. This was the beginning of a new chapter in Australian history, one that would be marked by conflict, change, and ultimately independence. The first European settlement in Australia was established by the British at Sydney Cove in 1788. This was followed by other settlements such as Norfolk Island, which became a penal colony in 1806, and Swan River Colony, which was established in 1829 as a settlement for convicts, and then later became known as Western Australia. During the early years of colonization, there was significant tension and conflict between the British settlers and the Aboriginal people. The settlers encroached on Aboriginal lands and resources, and there were numerous clashes and massacres. Despite these conflicts, some Aboriginal people did work for the settlers, and some even became domestic servants or were employed as laborers. However, the overall relationship between the two groups was one of hostility and mistrust. As the colonies grew, so did the need for labor. And in 1824, the British government introduced a system of free settlement, which encouraged more people to come to Australia and take up land and establish farms and businesses. This led to the rapid growth of the colonies and the development of a more diversified economy. In the mid-19th century, gold was discovered in Australia, and this sparked a rush of settlers to the colonies. The gold rushes had a profound impact on Australian society. The population grew rapidly, and cities like Melbourne and Ballarat boomed. The influx of new settlers also led to a diversification of the population, with people from all over the world coming to Australia in search of their fortune. While the gold rushes brought wealth and prosperity to many, it also led to increased tensions between the colonists and the Aboriginal people. The discovery of gold on Aboriginal lands led to further dispossession and violence against the indigenous population. By the end of the 19th century, the British colonies in Australia had become self-governing. New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, Western Australia, and South Australia were all able to govern themselves with a high degree of autonomy. This was the result of a number of factors, including the fact that the colonies were geographically isolated and the development of a strong sense of identity among the colonists. Each colony had its own parliament and legislature and was able to make its own laws. However, they were still subject to the ultimate authority of the British Empire. These are the original inhabitants of the land who have a history that dates back tens of thousands of years. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans first arrived in Australia around 65,000 years ago, with some estimates putting it much earlier. These early Australians were skilled hunters and gatherers who thrived on the diverse resources of the continent. Over the millennia, they developed sophisticated tools, weapons, and techniques for surviving in a wide range of environments, from the arid outback to the lush tropical north. Aboriginal culture is incredibly diverse, and it varies greatly across the different groups and regions. Each group had its own language, customs, and beliefs, but all of them shared a deep connection to the land and a profound knowledge of the natural world. The Aboriginal people had a rich oral tradition, and their stories, art, and music played an important role in their cultural life. They used rock art to depict important events and stories, and they created intricate body art designs that symbolized their identity and status within their communities. Unfortunately, the arrival of the British would have a devastating impact on the Aboriginal people. They were subjected to violence, displacement, and a deliberate attempt to erase their culture. But despite these challenges, Aboriginal culture has endured, and today it is experiencing a revival of interest and appreciation. The next major chapter in Australia's history began in the 17th century, when the Dutch started exploring and trading in the region. The British colonization of Australia is a long and complicated process that began in the late 18th century. In the early 20th century, Australia became a federation of 6 states: New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia, and Tasmania. After World War II, Australia entered a period of economic growth and prosperity known as the post-war economic miracle. If you want to know more about Australia, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.